Many believe that they do not have a soul, that they merely have consciousness. And others will tell you that the soul and consciousness are one and the same. But nothing could be further from the truth. These two things are fundamentally different. And I'm going to provide a few simple proofs as to why that's the case. The first mention of the soul is in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So the Bible teaches that the soul itself is the man, that the man is a spiritual, concrete, existent being. The doctrine of consciousness contradicts this. The doctrine of consciousness states that the man is not truly existent at all, but is merely a mental construct, nothing more than a character. And what they do is attempt to divide man from the awareness that he has. And this is just wrong and disgusting, frankly. And as you can see, to even believe in consciousness is to believe that you don't even exist. Now, this also provides a very convenient front for demonic possession. They now say that the possessed are nothing more than mentally ill people who just have multiple mental constructs in their head, and that these are not actually devils, but just multiple personas battling for control of the mind. Consciousness also acts as a replacement for the soul. The soul is the very reason why we are alive and aware. It says that we are the living soul. But you see, consciousness provides the evolutionists a soul alternative. They can say, oh, well, we're not a living soul. That's not why we're alive. That's not why we can think and feel and do whatever we want to. No. It's just because we have this awareness that has arisen over billions of years due to chemical functions in the brain. Synapses firing over time, and eventually the engine accidentally kickstarted. And then you had awareness. They believe that the body can be divided up into hardware and software. And they believe that the hardware is the truly only existent part of the man. And that your self, or your ego as they'd call it, is nothing more than software. And so therefore, this software can never be truly existent because it's just a figment of the imagination. Before I continue on, I'd just like to say this. Consciousness and the conscience are not the same thing. A lot of people also get those two things confused. They sound similar. That's why. The conscience is the law written on your heart from God. It convicts you of doing evil. It's what makes you feel bad when you do bad things. Consciousness is the replacement for the soul. It's why they say you're alive. It is the evolutionary counterpart for the soul, so they can have awareness and existence without God. And the final thing I'd like to go over is how the doctrine of consciousness is just a doctrine of devils. It's literally just occultism. Consciousness and the soul also differ in this respect. The soul cannot be expanded or contracted like consciousness can. Even if you're not a New Ager, you still have to concede that you can ascend to a higher level of consciousness, even just according to the evolutionary perspective. Because all you'd have to do is just integrate things in the unconscious mind to the conscious mind. So even if you spend your whole life trying to integrate all of your unconscious into your conscious mind, and say you raised your consciousness by like 2%, well, you still ascended to a higher level of consciousness. So fundamentally, consciousness can be expanded and contracted. The soul cannot. You can ascend to a higher level of consciousness, but you cannot ascend to a higher level of soul. I mean, how would you even accomplish that? Would God have to give you an extra dose of the breath of life? It doesn't make any sense. But the reason I bring this up is because consciousness is the only way you can peddle the religion of occultism. You cannot have this new age garbage without the doctrine of consciousness. Because according to the religion of the occultists, all reality truly is a mental projection of this one conscious being, this non physical thing that can only think. And because it can't move, it can't breathe, it has nobody to love it, and because they say it's the only thing that it exists, they say it has to shrink itself down in its mind. It has to imagine everything. So it has to shrink itself down and descend into human beings. It has to tell itself these stories. And so the New Agers say that since this is what reality truly is, you just need to ascend back to the upper echelons of consciousness so you can reconnect with your God self. But as I discussed, you cannot have this with the soul. You cannot ascend to a higher level of soul. The soul is something separate from everything else. There is no upper echelons of soul sense or soul essence that you can tap into. There is simply you, the man. But I hope I've cleared some of this up for you. Don't go off and get deceived by these psychologists. I mean, they're nothing more than a bunch of frauds, literally pushing doctrines of devils. Just don't fall for it.